Well, hello. Today we are going to explore some problems that you might encounter as you are working through the problems on Section 4.7, Financial Considerations of Home Ownership. So to start out with, Jimmy, we're going to follow Jimmy around a little bit today and look at some of the things that he's going to run into. He's going to sell his house for $350,000. And the realtor, it gets a 6% fee, and those realtors will tend to split that. So if your realtor is working with, I should say Jimmy's realtor is working with the person who's buying his house, then they'll split that commission usually by like 3% each. Now, I am not a realtor, so this is just my own experience and what I've gone through with research. So if you're a realtor and I say something wrong, I apologize. I'll do the best I can and love to try to fix it. Then there's also title insurance, 1.3%, an escrow fee of $750. These are some extra things that get added on. How much did Jimmy end up receiving after he had to pay all these fees? So he sells the house for $350,000, but that's not what he actually pockets. Now we're also going into this with the idea that Jimmy owns his home outright and he doesn't have any more any balance due to the bank. So if he did, that would have to get paid out of Jimmy's proceeds. So the first thing we're going to look at is we're going to take 6% of 350,000. That's going to be 21,000. So selling your house using these realtors, you're going to be paying $21,000 to the realtors, and then they'll split that with whatever they agree. Then you've also got to pay your title insurance, and so that's this much. So this is 1.3%. Remember, when you're multiplying by a percent, you've got to move the decimal 2 places to the left because it's 1.3 per 100. That's what percent means. So we'll use 0.013. And then the escrow fee is just a flat fee of $750 in this case. So in total, then Jimmy's going to have to pay $26,300 in fees. And then that means that he is going to end up gaining $323,700. You just subtract that from the selling price. Now, in a perfect world, Jimmy sells the house himself, doesn't have to pay anything at all. I don't know about these other fees. He would get to keep all $350,000, but he doesn't. He only keeps this much. And so if you want to know what percent of the selling price was fees, we're going to take all the money he had to pay and divide it by the selling price. So in this case, it's going to be the $26,300 in fees divided by the price that he sold the house for gets us this. And then move your decimal over 2 places to change this into a percent. Jimmy's just sold his house, so now he's got to go buy a new house. The new house he wants to buy is $400,000. He goes in and talks to the loan officer. The loan officer says, hey, you should buy 2 points. A point is a way of getting a better interest rate on a loan. So maybe you go in and you qualify for a loan at 4.5%, but if you buy a point, your interest rate will come down to 4.25%. And if you buy another point, it might come down then to just 4%. So you can get a better interest rate by buying these points. Points are considered prepaid interest. 1 point costs you 1% of the loan amount. So if Jimmy wants to buy 2 points, that's going to be 2% of this loan amount. So we'll just take $400,000, the price of the loan. Now, I actually should amend this. The new house he's purchasing has a loan amount. How about this? There we go. Of $400,000. So then we'll take the $400,000 times 0.02 and get 8,000. Now, Jimmy has decided that he's not going to put down a very large down payment on this $400,000 loan. So he's going to have to buy something called PMI. PMI stands for Private Mortgage Insurance. Now, while we often think of insurance as being something very good and it helps us out, in this case, this insurance is not to protect Jimmy, but rather to protect the bank that he's getting the loan from. And so this insurance really doesn't help Jimmy at all. PMI really kind of stinks. If you can avoid it as a home buyer, you absolutely should. Now, typically, you need to put down a 20% down payment in order to avoid PMI. If you don't reach that 20% threshold, then you'll have to purchase PMI. Let's see how that's going to affect Jimmy's payments. Okay, so if he's taking out a $400,000 loan and his down payment wasn't 20%, so the bank said he's going to have to pay for this PMI. We're going to take 400,000 and we're going to take it times 0.7%. Now keep in mind, you got to move this decimal 2 places to the left. So we're going to take 400,000 times 0.007. Okay, because this is what it would be if it's 0.7%. Remember, you got to move it 2 places to the left. So he's going to be paying this much per year just in extra payments. This does not actually go toward buying the house. This is extra insurance that he has to have until until he reaches that 20% threshold of the selling price of the house. Okay. So because this is annually, when we want to see what this does to his monthly payment, we're just going to take this number and divide it by 12. That means that every single month he would pay an extra $233 in insurance. Now, on a personal note, when I bought my new house, I was originally I only had about 18 or 19% of the down payment for the house that I'm in, and I ended up talking to my parents and I didn't ask them, but they were just inquiring about things, and my parents said, "Hey, why, we're just going to gift you a little bit of money." And so they gifted us a few $1,000s, enough to be able to get, to go from 19% or 18.5%, whatever we were, up to that 20% threshold, so that our loan was just a little bit smaller. And by doing so, they were able to save us almost $200 a month in PMI, because that's what our monthly payment. It would have been $200 a month more if we had to have PMI. But because we were able to put a large enough down payment down, they said, "Oh, you put down 20% of the home value, you don't have to pay PMI anymore." And this rate does change. It does fluctuate. It's not just always 0.7%. So it just depends. So if you can avoid PMI, you absolutely should. And you do that by having 20% of the home's value or of the selling price down. Now let's actually calculate some payments here. So Jimmy found out that he could get an interest rate of 4.1% if he bought 1.5 points. Now, if he buys more points, if he pays more and gets more points, he's going to get a lower interest rate. His loan is for $400,000. After how many months will the second option be better? In other words, when is he going to recoup the cost of paying for these extra points? So let's kind of look at this a little bit here. This is a nice little formula. I know our book uses one that just involves some I's and it uses like PMT. This is a formula that I use in a few other scenarios, and it does the same thing, where M is your monthly payment, P is the principal of the loan, that's how much the loan is for, R is your interest rate, N is the number of compoundings per year, which typically is 12 because they're monthly payments, and T is our time in years. And you can, I'm going to show you several ways, so don't get lost in this formula here. This is just one formula. I'm going to show you probably like 3 different ways that you can do this. Okay. So to start out with, his loan is for $400,000, but the bank says that you're going to get this interest rate if you buy 1.5 points. So remember, what we're going to do is we have to purchase those points. We're going to take 400,000 times 0.015. That's because 1.5 points, this is each 1 point is 1% of the home's or of the loan amount. Okay, so that means he's got to pay $6,000 in points, and hence the principal is going to be $406,000. Let me back up. I know I just said that, and I probably should edit this out, but I'm not going to. So he's going to end up paying $6,000 I misspoke. He's going to pay $6,000 right up front. So that's like this upfront cost to get this interest rate. And if he gets the lower interest rate, he's got to buy 2 points, which he would do by doing 0.02 because it's 2% of the loan amount. Okay, so in total, he's going to end up, whoops, not that. He's going to end up paying $2,000 more by getting the lower interest rate. Okay, so what we want to know is how long until he makes back $2,000. So we're going to go through and figure out his monthly payment for each of these scenarios. We're going to figure out his monthly payment at 4.1% and at 3.85%. Now, like I said, I'm going to show you a couple different methods for this, so don't worry about it. If you don't like one, just hang out and wait a minute. Okay, just like the weather, it'll change. So here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all of these numbers into a calculator. I know my calculator is a Casio. I know a lot of you use TIs. That's okay. I promise it still does the same thing. So I'm going to put 4,000 in for the principal. So that's this right here. So we'll do, or sorry, not 4,000, 400,000. That's the loan amount. Okay, and then it says times R over N. So the rate is 0.041. N is 12, so I divide it by 12. Now that's the whole top of this. So I'm going to do divided by. And now and you'll see I opened up a parentheses. That's just habit, and I want to make sure I point that out because I want to put this whole bottom part in parentheses. This whole thing probably needs to be like this. Now some of your calculators will automatically put it down there, but that's why I did that. So now we have 1 minus 1 plus R, which is 0.041 divided by 12. Close that parenthesis. Raised to the, you have a little caret on your calculator. Yours might be in a different spot, but this just, maybe yours says like y to the x power or something, but most of them have a caret. And then you got to put this in parentheses too. So parentheses, negative, n is 12, and then times 30 years, because we're doing this for a 30-year loan. Okay, so this is his monthly payment if we're using 0.041 or 4.1%. Okay. Now some of these calculators will allow you to go back through and just change certain numbers. So for instance, if I want to do the exact same thing, but now I want to do it at 3.85%, I'll just go up here and change this to 385, and I'll come down here and change this one to 0.0385. I think that was our interest rate that we were working with. Yeah, 3.85%. So if we do that and then hit enter, you can see we do get a lower payment. Okay, so our lower payment this time is only $1,875 and change. Okay, I'll just put that in right here. There we go. Okay, so you can see that getting this lower interest rate reduces our payment, and it reduces it by quite a bit in this case. Now, we had to pay some money to get that lower payment, okay? But if we end up taking, let's see, 1932.79 minus 1875.23, you can see we're actually saving $57.56. Okay, so we're saving that much every month. $57 and I think it was 56, yeah, and 56 cents every single month. Okay, so in order to figure out how many months that's going to take to make this back, remember we had to pay $2,000 more to get that lower interest rate, and we're going to save $57.56 every month. And so what we'll do is we're just going to divide the difference in the cost of the points, which the one to get the better interest rate costs $2,000 more. So this will be $2,000 divided by the difference in the monthly payment. We're saving $57.56. $2,000.56 every month. So I'll take 2,000 divided by 57.56, and that tells me that this is going to take about 35 months to make back. So if I'm going to be in the house if I plan on being there for more than 35 months, then it's going to be a better deal to go ahead and pony up a little more money up front to get that better interest rate. Now, a good rule of thumb, by the way, for those of you that are looking to buy a house, is if you plan on living in the house for more than about 5 years, you should plan on buying points. If you're like, hey, this is a temporary, or I think I might end up refinancing in the next couple years, like not even moving, just refinancing. So if you plan on refinancing, or if you plan on selling the house, you don't think that you're going to have that loan for more than about 5 years, then probably you don't really need to get points. Now, keep in mind, I'm not a realtor, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a guy that's bought a couple houses over the years and have done a little bit of research. So keep that in mind. I'm not a professional. Please don't take what I say and bet the bank on it, so to speak. Okay. Let's go ahead and continue. I told you that I was going to show you several ways of calculating this monthly payment because not everyone likes this big formula. I personally do. I'm a math teacher. But your calculator also has a TVM solver. And you can Google how to find it on your particular calculator. On the TI calculators, I just don't have a TI emulator here. TI calculators, you would go into your applications and hit finance. I'm sure you can find that. On mine, I went to here. And you can do this either with the compound interest or the amortization. Mine does it both ways. So I had some other stuff in here before. Let's go ahead and I'll kind of show you how this works. If I'm doing a 30-year loan, I'm going to put N is 360. For the interest rate, I'm going to put 4.1% for this first one. And the present value, that's the loan amount that we have right now. Now, when I hit enter, you can see that it says payment is negative 1427. Like, that doesn't seem right. It doesn't like this. Okay? So what I need to do is I need to tell it I want you to calculate that payment. So on my calculator, this little arrow here says that it wants to show me some more stuff and that there's more stuff here. And so I'm going to hit this F6 for the compound button. And now I'm going to hit payment because that's what I actually want it to solve for. Oh, by the way, I do need to make sure that my payments per year is 12 and the compoundings per year is 12. Those should pretty much always be 12. So payment, when I hit that, you can see, whoops, I am off with something. Clearly that doesn't match up, and it looks like it's off by about 100. So if I go back and check, and you guys all saw it, I'm just silly sometimes. My loan isn't for 4,000, it's for 400,000. So if I put the right amount in there, hit enter, and now I hit payment to recalculate that, you can see I get $1932.79. That's the same thing I got by using my formula just a minute ago. On the TI calculator, there's a little solve button down here, so you'll go and highlight payment and then hit solve to do that. There's lots of videos on YouTube that show you how to use a TVM solver on a TI-84. Okay, so this is, keep in mind, I did this just a minute ago with this formula. Like, I just put it in here. I didn't use a TVM solver to get that, but you can, right? It's pretty quick and easy to use the TVM solver. I only started using it just this past year. I'd never done these before then. So let's go ahead and look how easy it is to change this around now if we use 3.85%, and we'll just put that in there. And remember, I would go down and highlight payment, and I need to tell it that I want it to solve for that. So now I get 1875.23. So that's how we get those this way. Now there's one more way that I'm going to show you. Actually, I'm going to show you two more ways. Wow, you're getting all kinds of ways to do this. So I'm just going to Google, and I'm going to put in loan amortization calculator. And you do that, and usually the very first one that comes up is from bankrate.com. It's a pretty good one. And so if you go here, you can just type in what you need. So 400,000, and I've sent out other calculators for you guys to use as well. But we'll put in 30 years, 4.1%, and there it gets us our payment. And we're going to come back and explore this one here in just a little bit. the last way that I'm going to show you how to do this, I'm going to show you how to make your own spreadsheet. Now, this is relatively easy, especially since our book actually tells you how to do it. Most people just don't think to do it this way. They just think like, oh, well, if it's not given to me, I can't do this, and it's too hard to figure out. But you guys, we can do this. I'm going to show you. So in your textbook that you go to, and you can find a lot of different ways. On your homework, you just click read it, read the problem. It takes you right to the chapter. So this is one of the spreadsheets that you see. You've probably seen these. I hope you've been exploring your book or the videos, and you've seen little things like this. Guys, if you look right in here where my mouse is, that's really hard to read. Okay, but what I did was I zoomed in on it a little bit, and I don't know if it's going to go like this. It's a little bigger here, but I can only make it so big while I'm recording. And then what I did was I opened up a spreadsheet, and I pasted that picture in here so that I could see it. So now you might be able to see this a little bit better. It says equals PMT B1 divided by 12, and all that up here. So all I did was open up a spreadsheet on Google. This is free. Anyone can access it. And then I typed in these here just so that I would have similar type things so that I can make sure my numbers work out. And this cell that's highlighted says equals PMT. So I'm just going to type that in, equals PMT parenthesis B1 divided by 12, comma. And you got to make sure that you type it exactly like you see it. Okay, so you can put this in there. You can also click on the cells, but you would typically only do that if you really know what you're doing. I think it's easier to just type it all in there. Okay, right now this is telling me, it's trying to divide by 0, something weird's going on. So let's go through and put some numbers in here. Now, my final answer isn't going to be quite right to start with. And I'll show you what you need to do. Oops, first you need to put the numbers in, right? 30, 230,000, and then 0. Now if we do this, you can see we don't have the same answer that they do, and it has to do with this percent. You could change this cell to be a percent, but I think it's just easier to just take this number and divide it by 100. So I'll put in 0.045. If I do that, you can see now my cell matches the one from the book. That means that I have done everything correctly, and I've now created my own spreadsheet that calculates a monthly payment for an annual interest rate. Sweet, we made our own spreadsheet. Now what we can do is put our numbers in. Our numbers for this problem were 0.041, 12 payments in a year for 30 years on a $400,000 loan. And there you can see we get that same 1932.79. So that's like 4 different ways for you guys to calculate a monthly payment. And I'm sorry if this kind of drug on a little bit. We've been doing this one problem now for like 8 or 9 minutes, and I know, I apologize, but the rest of this is going to go a little bit faster. So I hope that that's helpful to you, that even if something doesn't work out, you can create your own spreadsheet, but you have your calculator, you can just do the formula, all kind of stuff for you to do. All right, the next one we're going to look at here is Jimmy ended up finalizing this out. He got an interest rate of 4.33% with 1.5 points, but he keeps getting these numbers changed around on him. I think his loan officer's messing with him a little bit. Anyways, the loan origination fee was 0.65 points on his 30-year loan. Calculate the APR. So we've got to figure out all of these fees. It was 1.5 points. Okay, so again, just like before, 400,000 times 0.015, $6,000 in the upfront interest. $400,000 times 0.065. Now, what we're going to do this time is we're going to, so the total fees then are going to be this $8,600, and they're going to end up in this particular loan. They're going to wrap that all up into the loan. So his loan amount isn't going to be for 400,000. This is like a no money up front kind of loan, is my understanding. Again, I could be wrong. I'm sorry if I'm misspeaking here. But so they're going to not give him a $400,000 loan, but rather a $408,600 loan. This is what we would call the adjusted loan balance. This is how much he's taking his loan out for. Now, they tell him that it's a 4.33% interest rate, but by adding some of this money back in, it actually does change the interest rate a little bit. So we're going to calculate the APR. This is a pretty tough problem to do if you're not using some type of a spreadsheet. So let me show you where you can find what you need. You've probably seen this spreadsheet before. I've posted it in announcements plenty of times. This has a lot of stuff on it, and some of it's really good. I actually don't think their amortization schedule sheet works, but that's why I showed you that one from Bankrate that has the amortization schedule on it. So, but if you go down here and click on calculate an APR, that's what we want to do. It's titled what we want to do. We want to calculate an APR. So we're going to click on that. And now watch, this is something that a lot of people were very confused on. See how this says view only? You can't change anything in here. If you try to change it, it does not let you. And if you try to request permissions, guess what? This isn't my document. I can't even give you permissions for it because it's not mine. This is owned by somebody else from the publisher. So you can't, if you request edit privileges, they're going to say no. They're actually probably just don't even check the account anymore. But what you can do is go down here, and I've shown you this in previous videos, you make a copy. So you just click make a copy. Now you have your own that you can go through and edit. So this is how you're going to do this. This is a 30-year loan, 12 payments per year. Our loan amount was $408,600. Sorry for that little movement there. So $408,600. Oh wait, I'm sorry here. Our loan is for $400,000. The additional interest paid is $8,600. And our annual interest rate we said was I think 4.33. Yeah. So put 4.33 in here. And this gives us our payment. This is how much you would actually pay per month. And by the way, you could also use this one. Just put your additional interest paid as 0, and we could have done the previous problems using this sheet. But then this does give you the APR, 4.511%. You can see it's a little bit higher than what our interest rate is advertised at, and that's because they add this back in. Okay, so hope that helps with some of the mechanics of that. The last thing that we're going to look at here is Phil's neighbor is selling a house for $765,000. Phil's upset because he really likes his neighbor, and it makes him kind of sad that his neighbor is leaving. Neighbor is very quiet and super helpful and super friendly to his kids, but he's selling the house. So let's explore. What if Phil wanted to buy it and turn it into like an Airbnb or a VRBO or even a long-term rental? So if he wanted to buy it, which I really doubt that Phil could afford this. I know that he can't. But let's explore some of the payment options and how much it would actually be. So we're just going to go back to here. We don't need to do this by hand. Let's let this the amortization schedule. Let's let Google do the heavy lifting here for us. So that's actually Bankrate, but $765,000 and a term for 30 years, and we're going to put this in at 30-year loan at 3.85%. Okay, so 3.85%, and then we'll calculate it. Now this shows you what the payment would be, right? It's let's just copy and paste that in here. Okay, so this is what that monthly payment would be if we do it that way. Now this website does show you some other things. We haven't really talked about it yet, but this website, you can click on Show Amortization Schedule. This will show you every single payment that you would make for all 360 payments. It shows you when you make it, what the payment is, how much of that money, of this $3,500, only $1,100 goes towards the principal, and $2,500 actually goes toward interest. Okay? And then it tells you what the balance is. After your first month making a payment, you will still owe this much. That's your balance. Now let me show you one other little trick, because I know there's a couple problems that say like after how many months until you till it's all paid off, or after how many months until you're halfway there. So this doesn't tell you that unless you count it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and, woo, sorry if that just made you motion sick. I'm just going to grab all of these, copy them, and then we'll go over and we'll just slap it into a spreadsheet. So I'm going to just click right here and hit paste, Control V. Whoops, not that one. Google, are you going to be up? Doggone it, I did this in Excel a minute ago and it worked just fine. So give me just a second here. All right, so I'm going to change gears here because it worked before, and I'm sorry. I know you can do Paste Special. I can't install that on this particular calculator. You can do it on Excel, but I know not everyone has access to that. So we're going to go ahead on to the next option. Remember before, I always used Bankrate in the past. But if you go down to the second one, I actually like this loan amortization one a little better for what we have to do. And so if we put in $765,000 and we'll put in 30 years at 3.85%, you can see we still get that same monthly payment that I know Phil can't afford. That would be ridiculous. But keep in mind, though, if you were to rent this out, a nice house like that might go for $3,000 a month or $2,800 a month. That covers most of it. So there's something to think about. But if you come down here, it says annual amortization schedule. I'll click over to monthly, and now you can see that we have our interest, how much goes towards interest, how much goes towards principal, what your balance is, etc. And so you can actually scroll down here. Like one of the questions I know in your homework is when does your sorry for all that scrolling, interest or when does their principal become larger than your interest? When are you actually paying more for the principal than you are the interest? And whew, it's down here a ways. It's kind of crazy to think about. Close your eyes if you don't like the scrolling. I'll tell you when we're done. Oh, okay, I think I'm done scrolling. So if you look right down in here, let's see, that's larger, that's smaller. Look, it's not until the 145th payment that the amount that goes toward the principal actually gets more than the interest that you pay in 1 month's time. So after 12 years on this particular loan setup. Okay? Now, if you'd be paying $35.86 a month for a 30-year loan, let's look at what if it was a 15-year loan. You'd think it cuts it in half, like half the time would double the cost, but it actually doesn't. It doesn't. Like doubling it would have been $7,000. The reason why it's less is because when you are paying more toward the principal, then the amount that you owe each month goes down faster. And so then you end up paying less interest. You'll notice the total interest paid this way is only $243,000, but on our 30-year loan, the interest is, holy cow, it's a lot, right? And so you're paying much more interest when you take something out for 30 years. Now, the other thing to consider is on a shorter term loan, you usually get a lower interest rate. If you were to take a 15-year loan, maybe you get an interest rate of 3.45% instead of 3.85%. So then that makes your payment even lower still than what it would have been. Now, I just wanted to show you a couple things. I hope this was helpful. This ran through a number of the problems from your homework. There were a few other problems that I didn't do. They have videos that say like watch it, and you can watch someone do almost the exact same problem. So anyways, I hope this was helpful to you. Feel free to send me emails on things that need fixing, and I'll try to adjust that or at least put something in the notes.